are free and unlimited. We got into that one. So we've been doing the fruits of the Spirit. My name is Leslie Woods. I'll be doing the talk for today while Gary enjoys some time with his toes in the sand and the waves crashing on in as he has some vacation time. So when we were talking about doing the fruits of the Spirit and we got all the fruits to put in our cornucopia over there, I had a special request. And I said, we could do that, but I want the banana for when we do patience. And he said, well, why? And I went, it's obvious. If you don't have patience, you're going to go bananas. Easy. So, patience. This was me last week. Literally me about the printer. Because it wouldn't work. No matter what I tried, and I overanalyzed, and all of it. I renamed it, sometimes some not very nice names. And but she's a diva printer. She doesn't want the fake diamond toner. No. She wants the diamond toner. That when you look into it, it's clear and crisp, and you know, that's what she wanted. So she has that now. She's happy. But I did experience my own patience issue. And I got frustrated with myself because I was getting mad at an inanimate object. It couldn't even talk back to me. It couldn't even argue. No, I take that back. She could argue, and she did. And she does. But the point is that I lost my cool with something that's not even a person. And so I had to kind of recenter myself a little bit. And in working on this talk, I looked for places in the Bible where patience was an issue. One that comes quickly to mind, and not one that I'm using today, but when Jesus took the tables and up they go in the temple, but that's not the one I picked, although he even lost his cool, so we're okay. And so this one is when Jesus goes into Gethsemane to pray. And he brings along with him Peter, James, and John. So he knows that his time on this plane is not going to be much longer. The political powers that are at bay do not like him. He is a threat. And so he knew what was coming. And so he just needed to go and get recentered, have some time, some intentional time with God. And he said, hey, you guys come with me and stand watch for me. So he goes for however long he went, and he comes back, and he sees these guys sleeping. And I noticed that in this story, Jesus didn't react, he responded. The look, though, in this picture kind of tells you a little bit of like, come on, guys, like for real. But he didn't lose his temper. But he explained to them that the time is near, the time is now. We need to stand watch and we need to be ready. And so I wanted to do a little bit of metaphysical diving into what this means. And so Gethsemane is the struggle that takes place within the consciousness when truth is realized as the only one reality. All the good is pressed out and saved, and the error is denied away. So the struggle there is ours, but also finding the peace is with ours as well, to get the error stuff out of the way and to recognize our true divine nature that we have within. And it was no coincidence, I don't think, when Paul was writing Galatians, which is where the fruits of the Spirit comes from, that peace came before patience. I could see him just sitting there writing, yes, they're going to need love. They're going to need peace. They're going to need that because they're going to need patience, and so on. And so finding that within and knowing to be able to go and keep watch, we are persistent in our looking toward the fulfillment of divine ideas. So even if we might stir off track, we know that we can come back to alignment within, and in that moment, breathe a little easier and find some peace. And then this quote, we've heard it, all of us, a bazillion times. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And which is true. Our divine self is always aligned. Not ever where God is not. But our human self forgets sometimes. And so we have to reconnect with our higher self, with our spirit, so that we know that we can get back into alignment anytime we want to, anytime we're ready. So Peter, James, and John metaphysically stand for faith, love, and judgment. Not the judgment of, oh, you're doing bad and how dare you, not that kind, but the discernment kind of judgment, the knowing from within kind of judgment. And so when faith, love, and judgment fall asleep, we're impatient. But when faith, love, and judgment are awake, then we are better in alignment with the divine. So I'm a Myrtle fan. I love Myrtle. And she guides me all the time when I do children's ministries. But this quote right here, because in the recordings that I've heard of Myrtle Fillmore, who happens to be one of our founders of Unity, she has this sweet, sweet, calm voice. And it's like a hug just hearing her talk. But on this one, I see her breaking into full, complete mama mode. You do not have a problem except the one that is in your mind and you put it there. She's pretty much saying, you done gone and done it now. You done gone and done it. But when we recognize that we've gone and done it, and we've put stuff in our mind that isn't really true, because remember in the Gethsemane, all the good stays and the evil fades away, the stuff that is not eternal. So we can recognize that we are out of alignment and do some things to get back into alignment. So I created the peeling of the peas, getting back to the fruit of the matter. And so with the banana, which I learned, by the way, that it's easier to eat the banana when you peel it from what I think is the bottom. Steve shared this with me a while ago, because that's how monkeys eat it. And I looked at him and I said, and we're supposed to be the one that evolved into being smarter, and we can't even get a banana eaten correctly. But anyways, the banana. We need to take a pulmonary pause. If we take that moment to just breathe and think in that moment that every breath I breathe in is God, because there is no spot that God is not. No minuscule microscopic spot where God is not. God is everywhere present. So when you breathe in deeply, do this with me. You breathe in God, and when you breathe out God. And so you have this continuous flow of in and out of the divine within and out and around you from head to toe all the time. And knowing that kind of realigns me back to the power that I have within. And then I know that I'm able to, whatever task is facing me, whether it's the printer in there or a person that I may not be agreeing with or resonating with, it's not the them, it's the me. And so when I recognize that, then I take some time and get prayed up. And this isn't the, oh God, if so-and-so would just, if that printer would just, so it's on us to be prayed up and to affirm. And let me tell you, this week, tomorrow is the last day of Mercury retrograde. And by the end of last week, I was saying, on the regular, Mercury retrograde has no power over me. I am able to solve my problems with ease and grace. Dadgum Mercury retrograde. And so staying prayed up and staying in that moment of alignment, that moment of Zen when you're there, it opens you up and it makes you clear to be able to receive what really is ours to do. And when we're open and able to receive, we can adjust and get kind of a perspective change. I had a friend of mine when I was working in San Antonio, so I was working near the medical center in San Antonio. So it was quite a commute, and she lives in Schertz. And so one day after work, she came up to me, she's like, I don't understand you. And I didn't know why. I'm kind of an open book, but I was like, okay, we'd share more. She said, I don't see how you can sit in traffic and sit in the slow traffic and not zoom around people. You're getting home later. I said, yeah, I am. However, I'm also listening to my favorite songs, and I'm getting to sing at the top of my lungs. Nobody else is around me to hear me singing, and I find that as time to enjoy some time with my music, which music for me centers me, brings me back to a joyous state, and it helps me to be able to accept my traffic being self, but not get mad about it and not have to rush home. Truth be known, Sandy probably got home maybe 5 minutes before I did, but most of the time we were stuck at the same exit spot. But changing our perspective allows us to even recognize what is within us that needs a little bit of adjustment. And in doing that, I have in your bulletin, there is a sheet that looks like this, and it's called the situation sheet. So this is something that I created when I mentor. Most of the time I'm mentoring teens. And so this situation sheet kind of lets me work through the muck. Like if I'm standing in and it doesn't feel comfortable and I'm mad for days or upset, or if I'm overly anxious on something good to happen, kind of like kids feel at Christmas, only it's me sending off my application for ordination, waiting on the results to come back in on whether or not I get called for an interview. That's my Christmas. And so when you get kind of in that moment, the center is the situation. So you would write down in the middle what your situation is. And you may need more space than what's in the middle of that. So grab your journal and journal away. But in the top, we express here things that we cannot control. Everything about the situation that you have no control over whatsoever, write it down up here. And then on the bottom, write down the things that you can control. Not the things that you want to control, but the things that you can control. And write those down there. And then I invite the person to spend some time in meditation, just to kind of sit and be open with all the information that's there. And to ask, what's ours to do in this, so that we can regain our patience, so we can regain our center, so we can stick with it without going bananas. So on the left-hand side, I am willing to respond and act in this manner on what I can control. You can control how you feel. You can control how you react. You can control what you choose to do, because you don't have to. And so those things right down there. And then on the other side, these are the things that you're willing to release, things that you cannot control, that you're willing to just let go of. And I know a lot of times, most of Unity people know about Burning Bowl. And so you do not have to wait until December the 31st to do a Burning Bowl. And so Burning Bowl is basically, you would take all of these columns, the things in the I release, and you can cut that paper in half, and you put them in a bowl that can take some heat, so probably a metal bowl, or your barbecue pit. And you burn it, and you release it, and you let it go. And it's a gentle letting go, because you've already affirmed those things don't affect you wholly at the very moment, and so you can let them go. And when you are working on things that you can control and getting your steps in, you can create a mind map, which is basically a bubble in the middle. I want to do this, and then other bubbles, just jot down ways that you can do it. That helps you kind of stay in alignment. And when we get this all figured out, we can be powered up. So Unity teaches us that we have 12 powers that are divine and within us at all times, at our disposal. We can use them. So Imagination is one that I lean to often. That's how I created these slides and created my talk. I used imagination to be able to hone in on what does God want me to do and what does God want me to say. And you also have life. So when we breathe in that life of God that flows in us, through us, around us, it is there constantly. And you also have release as a divine power. And there's 12 of them, and if you want to know more about them and you don't know about them, Google Unity 12 Powers, and it will pull up the 12 powers, who the 12 powers disciple-wise corresponds with, and the center of your body that resonates with that power. So, I encourage you to stick with it, to stay true, and to find that divine center within you, so that way you are able to move with ease and with grace to find your patience, your center.
Step out on the water, release your faith. Every step is stronger. Step out on the water.